All right, everybody, what is happening? Welcome to another IR Sculpt stream, Pixel stream. Whoop 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 whoop. How are you guys doing? Before we get started, and today's sculpt, you guys know, it's quickly gonna be announcing ZBrush Summit's coming up. September, tomorrow's October. That's how it works. Not really, but you know what I mean. It's coming quick, so make sure to check it out. Get ready for some awesome, amazing, wonderful sculpt off, some other cool stuff. So don't forget. Whoop whoop. How are you guys doing? Jimbo, welcome in. Casey, welcome in. How are you guys doing? All right. So last week, you guys remember, I started really getting into blocking out our Demon Slayer project. I'm gonna bring up a concept real quick so you guys can kind of be refreshed. This is what we are working on. I got my pure ref. So we are doing this piece. We're getting it as close as possible, but of course we're also using our own interpretation. So this is more of a where to put this. This is basically like start to finish. I'm showing you how I go about making these statues all the way to the very end. And this is obviously taking a little bit. We're on the third stream right now. We did a first stream, which is an essential block out. And then after that, we finished blocking out Tanjiro at least most of the way and did a slight pose and also kind of critiqued what we thought the Nezuko placement should be. Now we need to finish dressing her and then ideally start prepping to get to the head. So I want to see how far we can get today. This isn't necessarily about how fast I can finish the project. This is more of like taking you guys through from start to finish how long it could take to actually finish something. All the challenges, all the problems, all that stuff can happen along the way, and I'm going to talk about it as we go through. So hopefully this is something you guys like. This is a big project, so we got lots to do, and it's going to be amazing. Gabriel, what is up, dude? Welcome in. Is it better to sculpt an A pose or dynamic, or you mean like T pose? It is better to pick a pose that will. It's better to basically keep open between asymmetry or T pose. In this particular pose, because of how dynamic and everything is, it wouldn't make any sense to sculpt completely in T pose, get a lot of the details just to break it all and have to fix it. So for me, it is easier for me to wrap my head around getting what the pose would look like first and then working around that. That's not every project, though. I work a lot in T-pose, and then I break symmetry to then make a good solid pose. But again, it just depends. The more dynamic the pose, the simpler it would be to essentially work asymmetrical. But again, that's really up to you and how comfortable you feel with working in asymmetry. Because no, you're going to have to do everything essentially twice. You have to make 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, et cetera, et cetera. So that depends on you. But ultimately, my rule of thumb is if it's a pretty simplistic pose or it doesn't have a whole lot of movement to it, T-pose. If it's really dynamic, like something like this, A-pose might be a good way to start. You just started watching Demon Slayer, Lucas? Oh, that's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. So, we got a few things to get going. So, as you guys remember, we gave Tanjiro a lightsaber as a placement holder. Some temporary hands that I blocked out in like 5 minutes, just as one of the questions we had. Let's go ahead and start getting Nezuko somewhat dressed. As you can see, I'm using blocks for heads. That's because I did use SK base mesh for this project, and he comes in with some mannequin. So we use the mannequin. That's where the cube head comes in. I'm saving the heads and hair until at the end of getting them dressed. So let's do that. And real quick, let me actually reference one other thing here, just so we have it in the corner. So let's go to texture, let's go to import, Demon Slayer Nezuko reference, and we're actually going to go ahead and pull up, I think this T-pose, or this just standing stance here. Reason why is I actually want to reference her outfit and kind of kind of mimic it as much as possible. So we're just going to sit that there so we have some reference. Always good to work in reference. What's up, Matt? How you doing? October, start of the second season? Yes, I know. I'm so super excited. I want to start in 3D, but I don't know a good way to do this. Would you have any advice? Your work is amazing. Thank you so much, by the way. The best advice is figure out what program you want to work in. If you want to do, I mean, you're here for ZBrush, so if you want to work in ZBrush, just get comfortable with the program first. You can easily load in a lot of projects here. There are tons of stuff. What I would say is get comfortable with the program. Start with the base mesh. You have male, female base meshes. And just go through and just start figuring out what the brushes do. As you see, we have a laundry list of brushes. Just kind of get to know the program, which for me took a couple weeks in the beginning when I started. And then after that, kind of start playing with different things you want to do. Whether you want to do characters, hard surface, environment. Just kind of play around. Get comfortable. Because 3D is a life journey. So there's a lot to do. And you're always going to feel like you're kind of wanting to learn more. So just get comfortable with the program. You can start with ZBrush Core Mini, which is completely free, by the way. Highly recommend check that out. That will give you a really good crash course on how that works. Okay. Let's actually put this up here in the corner. And we're just going to work with her right now. Because we got to get her dressed. And we have the outfit in mind. So what we're going to do now is just kind of start masking out portions, and I'm personally thinking that you need to create just like a base layer first, and we're going to start with her top. So let's just grab the mask lasso by holding control. We're just going to mask out certain sections just like such, and it looks like the kimono itself has a belt around it, so we can do this in really fun sections that aren't too complicated. So let's go ahead, grab the mask pen. So we can also just like create something for her neck. That. There we go. Hey, what's up, Chris? Does the stream have the correct title? That's a great question. Probably not. So we'll have to fix it afterwards. Hey, what's up, Wednesday? Welcome, man. Doing great, nice and recharged. Can't wait to chat with you guys later tomorrow night. Nice, man. Nice, dude. Well, glad you're here. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself. All right, so let's just turn everything else off. And let's go to extract. Thickness is at 0. And we're going to go ahead and hit extract and kind of see what that looks like. Let's hit accept. And as you can see here, we have this kind of masked out geometry that we got. And it comes masked. It actually masks the inside but keeps the edges unmasked. That's perfect because what we want to do is, you can see here, it's kind of warbly and it looks kind of funky. Let me actually kind of draw. I'll show you what I'm staring at. There we go. So right here, you can kind of see how it like kind of has this like little funkiness that's going on. So what we want to do is clean that up. So I like to hold control and soften that mask. And then go to deformation and polish groups. And that just kind of cleans it up a little bit. There we go. Let's go ahead and turn on double, which can be found under display properties. And that just lets me see both sides of the single-sided geometry. That's looking pretty good. And so this is just going to be the base underneath. So I'm not really too worried about details, but we do want to ZBrush it to keep the poly group down and also to make sure that we just have a nice clean foundation to work off of, because we could borrow from this time and time again to kind of build up her outfit. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and open up ZRemesher. So geometry, ZRemesher. I'm going to actually keep groups so I could slide smooth groups down to 0 so it doesn't shrink too much. And then turn off adapt. Yep, that looks good. And we want to keep creases as well because the edges come creased. That's going to help guide ZBrush a little bit. And let's see what we get. Not too bad. Not too terrible. Let's actually drop it down a little bit. Let's try maybe 2. Yeah, there we go. That's looking better. Grab our move brush here. There we go. We're just going to do a light smooth relax, which is you hold smooth by holding shift, start smoothing, and then let go, and it just kind of relaxes everything. Doesn't really deform anything. Now what's really cool is if we take a look, it's a pretty good loops. Not the best geometry, but it's a lot better than it could have would have been. Let's grab our select lasso, and I'm actually gonna click that edge loop right there. And that's gonna separate, it's gonna remove that edge loop. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do auto groups and kind of shorten that up a little bit. And we'll go delete hidden. And then I want to actually go ahead and crease Paul Gabry's. So that's crease polygroups, just like such. Now we have this kind of single-sided geometry that we can work with. Now let's just grab our move brush, start kind of moving stuff around. There we go. Is everybody having a good weekend? There we go. Just kind of getting this off her body a little bit. There we go. How to convince my friends to use ZBrush. Secretly, so download ZBrush Core Mini, slap it on their computers, buy them some coffee or their favorite energy drink, and say, "Let's do it." Ton of Slug, man. How you doing? Hey, welcome in. Honestly, like, I'm sure the amount of people who know me on a more day-to-day bit is probably sick and tired of hearing me about ZBrush, but I just say, start showing them. Tell them how wonderful it is, and tell them you can make amazing toys, and you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your own toys. You could just make them yourself. A little bit more rewarding of an experience, if you ask me. All right, now we're going to use some new features here today, which is really awesome. So if we look at Nezuko's Kimono, pretty sure that's what that's called. If it's not, please correct me. I am not the most knowledgeable on things. So if we look here, we're going to notice that we have, they usually wrap around. This is our basic shape right here that we're going to be working on the first panel. And it basically repeats itself. It has another one underneath. And then it has the belt, right? And that's just the one side. And then, of course, we have the other kimono that comes through. Now, of course, there's also sleeves to it, but we're not worried about those sleeves at the moment. We just want this shape, right? Kind of comes through. It's probably not the best color. There we go. So we're kind of looking for shape like that. And that's where the knife brush is going to come in. Hey, and how long has it been streaming? I just got the notification. Justin, you are just in time. It has been 14 minutes, and I've spoken for about all of them, and I've only been sculpting for about 4 of them. Bring them into in stream, and they'll want to use it within minutes. There you go. Yeah, just do that. Life is good. Okay, let's go to our subtool, and here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to do ourselves a favor, and we're going to put this in a folder by hitting Control F. And we're going to call this Nezuko's... Oh, that probably did not spell that right. But we'll call this the undershirt. There we go. And then we're going to hit Control-Shift-D to duplicate that. Now we're going to use some new tools for us. Now here's the beauty part. Because she has this kind of overcoat over everything, we don't have to worry about having perfect, beautiful, well-connected clothing underneath, because we're not going to see it ever. It's always going to be hidden. And those are little tricks to pick up on the more you get into sculpting. So we're going to focus on just getting the side that we need, and we need it to go across this way. So we're going to go ahead and hold Control Shift, and we're going to bring up a new tool, the knife curve. Nice. What are you doing to get work? I work at Funko. I'm a digital sculptor for them, so that's my day job. And being here is just a fun bonus, and I love it. Hey, 3X Tingy, how you doing? Welcome in. What is the name of the anime? The name of the anime is Demon Slayer. All right, so we're going to go ahead and... Whoop. How's that not doing the thing? Because it's single-sided? Huh? You know what? Actually, let's try this. Let's try the knife lasso. What's happening? Okay, well, I guess we're not going to use the knife lasso for that, because it's doing the exact same thing slice curve would do. So, let's just use slice curve. Except for we want the poly group. That's what we want. Fine. Be that way. We're going to go ahead and select this blue one that we want, and we're going to go ahead and split hit it. Because why not? Kimitsu no Yabiya. That's probably a bad pronunciation, but yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and crease these edges, and now I'm going to go ahead and actually ZBrush this one more time. Hitting save. Not save, same. Go on down. Do the exact same thing. So now we have two sides that are going to work in our favor. There we go. And that just gives us some pretty simple mesh to work with. So now we have two halves. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to simply scale this up. I'm actually just going to go ahead and kind of slightly scale it, make it a little bit bigger. And now looking at the way that it works, the way that it folds across, we're going to repeat that same thing and make sure that it kind of comes across. So we're just going to grab our move brush and start pulling that down and under. Make sure that it wraps around. We can always smooth that a bit. We're not going for perfect here, we're going for blockouts. Perfection comes when you want to finalize everything. I'm not worried about detail or anything else. Just going to overlap this. There we go. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this one, except for this one doesn't actually, this one stays underneath. So we want to also do a couple things here, or we want to move this around. So they kind of crisscross, they don't just come straight across. Here we tuck that underneath a little bit. Go. Move that down. Do the same thing here. So if some of you are new to my stream, welcome in. Have kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like a brute force method of sculpting. We just kind of do it until I need it to work. Okay, let's grab this. I'm actually going to hide this part here. I'm going to take that slice curve one more time. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut this at an angle. Something like this. Because again, this is kind of a the cross, like, comes across the body. Let's go ahead and delete hidden, and then I'm going to ZBrush it, but not going to keep groups. Make that one. Kind of clean this up a bit. There we go. Now, if you get something like this, hello, Ryan. How you doing, buddy? If you get something like this where you Z-remeshed, and then now you have this kind of funky spot, that's okay. What we could do is actually rebuild this with ZModeler. So what we're going to do is a little bit of just manual topology here. I'm going to grab the ZModeler brush, BZM, and actually what I'm going to do is hover over a spot and just kind of think about the items I want to delete. And we're going to, over the edge, hit delete. Delete those two there. I'm going to grab this point, hover over it, snap to surface. This edge here, we're going to go ahead and do absolutely nothing to the face. And we're going to hit extrude on the edge with a snap to surface as well. What we're going to do is we're going to pull these corners and snap them to that spot right there. So we just connected those together. There we go. So it looks a little bit better. Now we're going to go ahead and crease those edges one more time. Keep creases, keep same, and Z-remesh. Now we get much cleaner topology as it comes across. So instead of trying to get Z-remesher to do exactly what I wanted to do to the T, which can be impossible sometimes, it's just a lot easier to just grab your ZModeler brush, delete some faces, reconnect some good ones, and then you are good to go. There we go. Now what I could do is do the exact same thing to the other side, but we don't have to. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this side, come back here, Control-Shift-D. So now with the duplicate, let's actually hide Nezuko for a second. I'm going to bring that over to one side, it doesn't matter. And then I'm just going to mirror and weld it. Delete the side that I don't need by hiding it. Delete hidden. Then bring that back. Now we can kind of fit this where we need it to be. There we go. Good, thanks. A little retopo, a little topo, little bit. Just a teeny weensy little bit of topo. Never be afraid of it, guys. There we go. Now we can take our move brush and start finessing this right where we need it to. So again, kind of make ZBrush work for us. Little tricks like that go a long way. I push that in. Now, you can probably do this a few other ways. This is just the way I'm choosing to do it. But at the end of the day, whatever works and gets the job done. Grab that one. How's the weather for you guys? It's like 105 in the LA area. Ridiculous. Anybody have some good weather? There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and save this, and then I kind of want to visualize the thickness of each piece. So we're going to go ahead and just hit save and drink a little bit of amino acid. Those nice BCAAs. My body. I'm jealous. 66 here. You're jealous of 105? Please don't be. Okay, so I'm going to want to visualize the thickness of each one of these pieces, okay? Because right now, I can tell you that it might be a little hard to visualize how your piece is going to look like when you add some sort of thickness. So that's where dynamic subdivision is going to come in. It's like 73 here in Seattle. Oh my goodness. Fahrenheit? Oh, that would be amazing. 73. I want that. That's like the ideal temperature for me. Between 70 and 75 all the time. A little bit of cloudy, but not too much. All right? Let some sun come through. We need that. We need that vitamin D. Sounds ideal to me. Okay. Now let's look at our topology here real quick. So what we're going to do is go to geometry. We're going to go with dynamic subdivision. And I'm sure you guys have seen me use it before. I'm going to hit dynamic, which is going to obviously make things look a little smoother. But then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to thickness. So we got this bad boy right here, thickness. What we can do is increase this. This will in turn kind of give us some sort of visualization on what our model is going to look like once we apply subdivisions with some added thickness. It's still single-sided geometry. If I hit Shift D or hit D to go back, it's still single-sided, but it's the illusion that it's thicker. And that illusion is going to help us, plan for how the print will be, and also it's going to help us just kind of see the progress of this. And something like this, we really want to make sure that the geometry overlaps the way it should. But here's the best part. If I needed to smooth this down, not smoothing the thickness, so I'm not destroying anything. And then we can also take our offset and offset it down so that it kind of pushes through a bit, which will help us with merging later. So, all stuff to do. And let's repeat that on this side. So let's go ahead, dynamic. Thickness, now let's cross-reference. This thickness was 0.0033, so we'll go 0.0035. Just a nice simple number to remember. And we'll do the same thing. Minus 0.0035. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 0.0035. Thinking of the offset for some. There we go. Now we can kind of have that there like such. Yes, yes. Beautiful. All right. And then offset is -41. Let's actually make that a nice -50. There we go. Like working with relatively even numbers. Again, I'm not worried about how the back connects because we're not even going to see it. We're going to end up merging a bunch of stuff together. So for now, we're going to go ahead and do with that. And with this guy here, this undershirt, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to dynamic subdivision, turn that on. We're just going to add maybe half that thickness, so 0.001. It'll just give us a little bit extra thickness, just so we're not seeing the underlying base mesh come through. So as you can see, last week we got the relative shape that we were looking for of the body, but we didn't focus too much on getting a lot of detail. We just focused on getting the idea of the body. There we go. And at this point, we can just start pushing in what we don't need on the body side. Now, let's go ahead and start adding this in. Our kimono has essentially two parts like this, so we need to repeat this. This needs to actually be over a little bit more. We don't want it too low. It actually has hers pretty snug. Pushing that up a little bit. This is why I work with low geo, because it's just a lot easier to manipulate shapes. We'll push that over. Back smooth it. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Just kind of tweaking. I'm going to be hiding that part a little bit, so I'm not worried there. Got something like that. Let's go ahead and save, and then we're going to repeat this a couple more times. Are you using dynamic to make more details on the cloth? Yes, I am using dynamic subdivisions with thickness applied. So you can see right here, going to go ahead and bring up the magnifying glass. I have dynamic subdivisions on, which is under geometry. And then I also have thickness set. That way it gives me a little bit more body and allows me to kind of see how it's going to look when I finally do extrude it later or apply the dynamics of it. 88! That's crazy, Chris. Not too bad. It's still like getting hot though. How long do you think it's going to take to complete this project? Well, that's a great question. And the answer is always, I don't know. Ideally, you always get faster with your projects the more you sculpt, right? But I live by a motto of it takes as long as it takes. Typically, if I had to like estimate, I would say if I were to work on this every day, 8 hours a day, I could probably have this fleshed out really well and detailed in about a week, maybe 2. And then, of course, then if it was for a client, I'd have to start like, you know, getting feedback and change suggestions, etc. But that's like pure dedication. Because I'm going to be only working on this primarily here, and I stream about 3 hours once a week, that week is going to get broken up a lot. So I'm going to try to just kind of streamline the process a bit and not noodle as much. That's always the fun part. But if I had to say, it's going to take us 6-8 weeks to get relatively happy with it, providing I don't run into any issues or, you know, stress myself out. Okay. All right, and we're going to do this one more time. So we're going to go ahead and take this. Now we're going to call this one, rename first layer A, or 1, layer A. And then we're going to name this one first layer B. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Control-Shift-D, duplicate, bring this one down, and now we're going to call this final layer A. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just straight up take this offset and kick it up 100% in the opposite direction, so then I can actually apply and kind of pull it to the side and just show off a second layer. Give a little bit of space. And we're going to do the same thing with this guy, Control-Shift-D. And then we're going to go ahead and call this, rename final layer B. And then same thing. We're going to go to geometry and offset 100%. Now we're going to start bringing this bad boy in there. Now we get to finesse this layer. You can already see the benefits of just copying and reusing once you got the main mesh down. If we want, just for fun, let's just go ahead and Control-W, get just a little bit of a different look for it. Go ahead and push that one in. There we go. So now you can see that starting to show up. Okay, now let's go ahead and we're going to insert a sphere. Actually, no, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is actually take this body, Control-Shift-D, bring this all the way down. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually use the knife brush this time, knife curve. I'm going to delete sections that I don't need. Hidden. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold Control-Shift, bring this down, double tap Alt. That deletes that whole bottom section, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and reset this, use local symmetry, and scale it up just a little bit. And so what this did was got me that belt that I needed in the shape of her body. I'm going to start pulling this out and correcting it as we need it. We will ZRemesh it soon because this is Dynamesh and is ugly topology. A really quick way to get a simple belt. Now let's go ahead and group by normals. Or we can just make that a little bit different. There we go. Polygroup, crease, smooth groups down, bring that bad boy up. Let's ZRemesh. How good is ZBrush compared to other softwares out there? Well, in short, Stuart, ZBrush is the leading standard of digital sculpting in the film, toy, and game industry. While it is not the only program used in that industry, it does a heavy part in character design, including doing pretty much anything else you need, from hard surfacing to environment work as well. It's a sculpting program and a painting program, so you could pretty much get quick concepts, ideas, and stuff flushed out very, very fast. So it is, in quote, a leading standard, and so, yeah, I would say very good. Hey, what is going on, DeMarco? All right. Let's go ahead and turn around and say half. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get this low poly. Half, half, half. There we go. Now I can adjust this as I need it. Is the new tool only for full version? Hello, Bunny'sworth. Yes. The new tools are in just the new version, as far as I'm aware. I haven't opened up Core recently, but I'm almost pretty certain. So, yeah. What are we doing today? So we are still working on the Demon Slayer piece. We're going to be working on the Demon Slayer piece for a good amount of time. But yeah, right now we are blocking out Nezuko's clothing. Last week we finished up Tanjiro's clothing block out. Now we're working on her. And because she's in pose, we're shaping the clothes into the pose. Super, super nice. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm kind of annoyed if I smooth this down, that crease is still going to be kind of funky. I'm going to actually get rid of the top and bottom layers. Let's turn on double real fast. Oop. Yeah, and let's go ahead and actually delete hidden. There we go. So I'm going to smooth, I'm going to just kind of relax smooth a good chunk of this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn on dynamic subdivision thickness. Something like this. But here's the thing. I'm actually not going to use dynamic thickness. I'm just going to be setting this up to position it where I want it, and then I'll cap it off once it's done. It's a really good way to kind of get everything sorted the way you want. Scale that down. Oh. Just a bit too big. Yep, so that's what we're doing today. And so just because you select dynamic thickness doesn't mean you have to stick with it. It's just a really cool tool to kind of visualize what you're doing. Because what we can do now is say, yep, I actually like that. I'm going to turn off dynamic thickness. Right, so hit that back to 0, turn it off. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and actually just close holes. Something like that. And then I can go ahead and crease those polygroups one more time. And then I can go ahead and ZRemesh same, which will give me back the topology I need. But this way, what I can do is create a spot in the model that I know is going to be solid. So when I merge this, I can actually create a crease or a cut there, which will be beneficial. And you see this right here? Remember we went back on like how we re-topo stuff? Let's clean this up, because this is gross. So we're going to hit BZM, hover over this face. We're going to go ahead and select delete, and we're going to delete that face, turn double off. We're just going to connect these two together. So over here on the face, let's turn it back to do nothing. Go here. Delete those. Hover over this edge. Go ahead and extrude that bad boy out like that. Black smooth. Fixed. Done, done, done. There we go. Little stuff like that really just helps you out. Is the title wrong? It probably is. Let me see something real quick. Oh, so satisfying. Yeah. I think I could change the title real fast. Let me see. Videos. Yeah, it looks like it was wrong. Well, that's always fun. 1 second. Go ahead and copy that. Say titles is here. Okay, that should fix that. Let me know if it did. You may have to refresh, but that should fix it. Okay. Let's move on, and let's start with the next part. So the next part is getting the her outfit actually worked out. And so what I did was I actually pulled some reference. Where are we? Where's my reference? I pulled some reference of a few statues that had already kind of worked on her. Here we go. Let's go ahead. So here's the thing. Even though we're doing our own version, it doesn't hurt to kind of grab some of the other works that people have done. We don't want their works to influence us, but a lot of times we don't get proper angles of how certain things should be. So we want to ensure that we actually can get some really good reference of the character, and we don't always have the opportunity to put on a robe and figure that out for ourselves. So what I'm going to do is kind of study this statue here and notice, grab blue, how it swoops around. That's going to be very, very helpful. And I'm not worried about anything. I just want to get the first layer done. And this comes from underneath and then wraps around her leg. So I want to make sure that I get similar shapes and feel. I don't know why I said similar that way. Similar shapes and feel of this, and make sure that it comes through here. So that's where reference comes in. And we're going to try our best to do exactly that. And a good way to do it is to, let's go ahead and actually, now we are going to want to make this one piece for the most part. Let's go ahead and actually, how do I want to do this? I know, take this piece here. And this is the fun part. So we get to troubleshoot a lot of the time. We don't always know exactly what it is we need to do. We just try something and see if it works. If it doesn't work, try something else. Yes, I have watched the movie, and oh, so amazing. Absolutely. Oh, so good. I had another thought. Let's stick with this. Let's grab this guy. I'm going to grab this layer here, and let's go ahead and delete hidden. Hey, Ian, I love your Chun-Li sculpture. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a super, super fun piece to work on. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to shape this the way we want to shape it, all right? So I'm going to take this Z modeler, and we're going to go ahead and change this, the extrude back to insert, the face back to Q-mesh, I'm actually going to go ahead and, not that, I'm going to delete these layers here. I hover over this guy right there. Yeah, let's go ahead and tap that, and let's actually delete that one right there. Okay, so now what we have is a single-sided, very low poly. Let's turn on double. And we're going to go ahead and kind of finesse this the way we need it to be. Let's go in the center. Let's scale it down. And the reason why I did this is now what we can do, kind of push this underneath her belt. And start just pulling this out. Working really just aggressively at this point. How I do things. Just grab it and tug it. And mask this section off here. Yeah, have you seen the movie? What do you guys think of it? I love it. I can't wait for the next season. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know if it's just me, guys, but anime tends to be tear jerkers for me, so. Let's go ahead and bring this up here. Now what we can do, instead of turning it off solo, we can just go ahead and make sure that we use transparency to kind of tug and pull. Now I know I'm only working with 2 edge loops at the moment, so that's going to obviously cause this mesh to be pretty jagged and straight. But I'm not worried about the topology. What I'm worried about is keeping this bottom part as much as one piece as possible. There we go. Grab this, soften that up. And actually kind of rotate this. Go. Now we'll fix that last part later. We just want this to look like it's coming from underneath her belt. We'll add some more edge loops once we have what we're looking for. Beautiful. Already looking great, right? Not yet. Now, see, what's crazy is, like, so remember the beginning I was talking about asymmetry, right? And, like, this is going to be relatively difficult to pose. If I had this T-pose kind of like I have this here, this would be such a pain to re-flare out and reshape it. So I'm just shaping it now. The only difference is I'm going to build it while I work. That'd be it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is actually grab my Z modeler and I'm going to add an edge loop. It's going across. See, what we could do here is hover over this guy real quick and we can just delete that edge. These polygroups. What I also can do is grab these edges, come over to polygroup, just make it a different polygroup so I can quickly do some sort of selection or mask it off by just grabbing that if I ever need to make that. So, like, for example, we'll take this, mask it. Now I can put this underneath it. Just like such. Actually, we know what you're going to do. We're going to go ahead and use Z modeler brush, BZM, not any other button, although I'm hitting it. Make it, yeah, that's good. Perfect. Okay. Oh, all right, let's see what we have now. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and kind of mask this top loop down. Okay. Go. Mask this bottom section right here. There. It'll look pretty eventually, I promise. This is one of those things I'm like, I knew this would be the most difficult. There we go. Get it close to the leg. We're not trying to go for perfection. Okay. And we're also going to want this to kind of wrap around her as well. So we're going to add another edge loop. Right about here. What we can also do too is we can take the edge loop, select it to poly groups, and create a different edge loop right there. So we can kind of mask that off quickly. Invert that. Get that pretty close. Let's do a relaxed smooth because we're getting a little wonky. If we hit D for dynamic, we can start seeing the flow of this a bit. Invert that. We don't want to move that. We want to move. So this lots of moving parts. I'd say this is probably the most complex cloth hose I've done in a while. Put up a bit. Add another edge loop right here. That way we can kind of relax this area. Oh, okay, yeah, that's better. Now we want this part of the... We don't really want to show anything, you know, inappropriate, right? So we want to make sure that we can grab this section here. Let's actually... mask this area off. Grab the move brush. That down. Now let's add some thickness to it just to kind of see where we're at. We still have obviously a lot to do, but this way we can kind of see what's working for us and what's not working for us. There. We have this really heavy pinch right here that we're going to work on. Mask that, soften that up. Start bringing this down a little bit more. this. Grab this. Ask that one more time. Go. Got away from us a bit, so we're going to push that back. Up. That way it looks like it's doing what we need it to do. Now we can get a little bit clever. Push this back in. Again, this is just blocking out 2, so we're not worried about secondary or tertiary forms. We're just worried about, does this read well from afar? Does this make sense? All those little things. Still looks funky, but we'll get there. Okay. Shapes going. A lot of times we'll just be correcting things we notice, things that stand out as we go along. That's okay. Bouncing around is going to be super helpful for you. Okay. Let me see something real quick. I have some other references of the character. I want to confirm something. Okay. I actually want to do, let's save it real quick. I want to try something. It is strange to see you, that you work with clothes with the anatomy so blocky. Yeah, so the reason why we're getting to clothing already is because we're not going to see 90% of this anatomy. So we're hiding a lot of it already in just the shape of it. But what I like to do is block out the entire character as fast as possible, so then I can go in and actually correct a lot of the other stuff. With such big pieces, it helps to move around. That way you can just get the look and feel of everything as you need it. There we go. We're actually going to take her and let's move her down. Just back here. Will you show us how to prepare it for printing? Absolutely, yep. Yeah, we're doing a full-on, get it all sculpted and print prepped for sure, yep. We're going to fix some other stuff too with her anatomy itself, but first let's get this covered up the way we need it to. Actually pinch it in a little bit. There we go. We're getting there. We're going to go ahead and add a bit. Yeah, she's almost fully dressed. Yeah. Yeah, so there's no need to really work on things that don't need to be seen. My approach for a lot of these sculpts, especially when there's a lot of clothing, just get it close enough. And that will help. You do want the anatomy to be as good as you can make it. But if it's not going to be seen, don't waste your time sculpting it. Just get your shapes in there. So, and this is just, again, the block out. We haven't even gotten to any other major forms yet. Still have a lot to do. Still want to get her head and his head sculpted in. We might do more of that. But basically, you want the silhouette to be your key focal point. Everything else, kind of, don't worry about it until much, much later. Okay. Daniel Castro, how you doing, man? Yeah, so what's the best or easy way for clothes, Z-modeler maybe? So the best and easiest way for clothing does it depends on the piece of cloth. For something like what we did here earlier, that it's going to be wrapped around the body or like a t-shirt, honestly, the good old-fashioned mask and extract and clean it up works to be the best for me. But there's a bunch of approaches you could take. You could even take, if you're working in T-pose, you have the snapshot method where you can quickly block something out that way. For me, tried and true, mask it, extract it, clean it up, prep it. Works for most things. Just kind of depends. See, with this flowy part here, I duplicated her belt and then started slicing it up, and then have to basically manually position it. But the best part is that, it's super low, so not really worried about it at the moment. Just get something that's looking pretty good. Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem at all. Speaking of getting things that are mostly good, loop. So here's the thing. We masked out last week. We got this piece of clothing here. And she has a very similar jacket on. So instead of remaking it, we're going to borrow this and we're going to put it on her. So we're going to go ahead and Control-Shift-D, copy that. We're going to bring this over, but we're going to call this Nezuko. Pretty sure that's how you spell it. Call this her jacket. Oops. Now we're going to do something pretty similar, but we'll have to obviously clean it up a bit. But again, no need to reinvent the wheel. We already did it once. Best part about working in ZBrush. At least one of many. Okay. Now let's go ahead and kind of flare this out a little bit. So I'm going to break this up. We're going to take her sleeves. We're going to split hidden. I'm going to hide those. Go. We're going to position the rest of it first. That. This, mask this section here, soften that. No autosave. We don't want to autosave it. Not yet. Now what I am going to do is actually let's go half. Let's keep groups. Let's drop smooth groups. I dropped smooth groups so that my topology doesn't shrink on itself, which tends to happen when you hit Z modeler. So definitely, keep groups and then turn smooth groups down. Saves it so it doesn't shrink so much. Let's relax smooth it. And yeah, so we are using dynamic subdivision. I rely on that a lot in the early stage so that I keep my topology low. Just think this whole thing right now is about 146,000 points. So we try to keep it as low as possible for as long as possible. This just helps with blockouts and making sure that you're not overloading your system for no reason. All right, now this is the fun part. What we got to do now is actually figure out how this jacket is going to interact with this door. She is leaping out. Go ahead and mask lasso this, soften it. Bring this over. Let's actually wrap this sucker. Yeah, let's do that. Black smooth it. There we go. Ooh, finally catch you live. Hello, Gabriel Hound. How are you doing, man? Welcome in, welcome in. Glad that you can make it. Okay. You see, I'm just working with a big brush here. Got some funky dunky topology there that we can fix. Here. Wow, that is gross. What'd you do, Ian? What'd you do? Oh no. Alright, so here we go. Here's what we're gonna do. So let's clean this up a little bit. Look at that. You'd be ashamed of yourself, Ian. What's the difference between Move and Move Topo? Move is just your basic standard move brush. It has no cool hidden little features. It just works for you. Move Topo seems to move topology a lot easier, a lot quicker, even at higher resolutions. I usually default to just using Move, but from time to time, if I find that the topology is a little funky, or just it's a little heavier, Move Topology works a lot better for that. Not one of my favorite brushes, to be honest with you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and snap this bad boy just like that. Boom. Rebuild assembled. Delete that. Go. Easy. Boom. Just like that. How do you know something is ready to print? Does the poly count affect prints? It's a great question. And I would say, yes, the topology can affect prints at higher topologies. Ooh, this is really nasty too. Hold on a second. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. At higher topologies, the thing you want to remember is that a lot of slicers, a lot of other programs in general, have a hard time dealing with such dense models. So if you have something that's like, 5 million polys and up, even 1 million polys and up, you might get a lot of lag because it just might be too heavy for the slicer to actually manage well. So my recommendation is make sure that your each individual piece that you'll be printing is about 250,000 to 500,000 polys, give or take. I wouldn't go much higher than that. But as you're prepping for print, the easiest thing to remember is it doesn't matter how dense it is in ZBrush. You can always just decimate it down to a specific number by going to Z plugin, using Decimation Master, which is right here. And then at the bottom, what I recommend is you use these presets. So 250K, most things, you could just click this button and it will decimate that down. But if you need something a little bit higher, like you can notice your topology's messing up or it's breaking in spots you don't want it to, you can just set this to like something like I said, I had it at 500, but you could set it to like 3, 4, 5, and then hit custom, and it'll prep that way. So hopefully that answers your questions. Okay. Yeah. Okay, you know what we're gonna do here is let's actually take this quick. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that one there. I create a poll. Ew, here. I want to fix this spot here. That. Should be fine. Do. I want to fix this section real quick. How's that look on this side? That. Flowiness. All right. Well, hello. I can barely read your name. It's this weird blue, but that is not the important part. Hey, Ian, I want to work with paleo art. Is ZBrush a great tool? Did that, or would you have another suggestion? I don't know. I'm actually struggling with. Sorry, this is gonna seem embarrassing, but paleo art at the moment is not coming to blank. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think ZBrush would be fine for that. ZBrush is a painting program too, as well. But yeah, I don't see why that would be. Pretty sure you can approach that in there. I would say give it a shot. Can't hurt. Hey, what's up, Lewis? How are you doing? Okay. Yep. I'd say you guys would be surprised what ZBrush can do. ZBrush can do so much. Okay, let's go ahead and actually keep creases. I'm going to re-topo this one more time. There we go. That's better. Had a hard time in ZBrush to get good topo. Can you please show me some parameters to achieve decent topo after masking and subtract a piece? Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've been doing most of the time here. In fact, if you want to go back and just quickly scrub through when I made the belts and such, that kind of walks you through. But I can also go through it again because I'm going to be making more than one piece today. So let's go double. Yep, perfect. And let's do geometry, dynamic, thickness. Again, we're going to hit that 0.0035. Seems to be the thickness I like to work with for this piece. Okay. I don't think hers has a hood on. I don't think she has a hood. Nope, does not look like it. All right. Totally fine. Gonna pull this back out a bit more. I'm just kind of referencing the concept at the moment. All right, let's get those sleeves in place. And we have two different sleeves, so we're gonna grab the one, this one over here. rotate that, get that out of the way. Hey, Talden! Hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Let me place these sleeves and I'll give you a quick example of how to do extract and retopo with your mesher. Ultimately, the thing to remember is that you just want good enough topology, so you don't want to stress on it too much. But it's fairly simple with a couple techniques to get what you're looking for, which I'll show you in just a moment. There we go. Going to flip this over. Okay. Something like this, because of the way that it's shaped, instead of masking and bending this off, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead, take the, no, not the Z slide. Let's go select lasso. I'm actually going to go ahead and, because I have the knife curve, select lasso. There we go. I'm actually going to select this loop here. I'm going to hit auto groups. Select the rest of that. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete hidden, because there's no need to start bending that stuff where I don't need it. And instead, I'm just going to go ahead and stretch out this topology and reshape it to match. Turn double on for a second. Move that down. Normal smooth brush won't really mess up the final edge of anything that you have. That's what the cloth smooth brush is for. I can get it pretty close, smooth it down, and remanipulate it. Go. That. Move that. Move that. Constantly looking at my reference. Make sure I have what I want. Oh. I don't know if you guys can really hear this song, but it always reminds me of Bloodsport. I think I say that every stream now, too. But it's so true. I'm constantly thinking about it. Actually grab this set of loops right here, soften that here, kind of move it, scale that down a bit. Go. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and save it, and then I'll show you how I use extract for cloth and stuff. So let's go ahead and save. Okay. So these characters, the one in the fighting stance here is Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, and this one here is going to be Nezuko from Demon Slayer. I know I've been in blockout mode for about this is the third stream now. So, but again, the whole idea with this stream was to kind of showcase the entire process. You guys always have kind of something to look back on. This would be a series in which I would say, like, I'm going to end up, you know, trying to really showcase the whole process as much as possible. But, you know, if it's also a little overwhelming, or if there's just, you know, if it gets to a point where it's just too much, you guys got to let me know. You can always move on to something else, and I can do what I usually do, which is, you know, do a bunch of stuff off, bring it in, show you how I did it, etc., etc. But I thought this would be a lot more interesting. Okay, so let's focus on real quickly. I'm going to go ahead and load in a base mesh. So here is one of my anime base meshes. And let's say we want to get her dressed, okay? So what we're going to be doing is using the extract method, much like you saw me do it in normal A pose, but here. So if I wanted to put a skirt on her, right, I wouldn't use the mask or the extract method. All I would really do is just insert something like a cylinder, scale this down, come over to, geometry. I would go to edge loop and delete loops. And then I would just start blocking out a dress. Something like this. Put here at our waist. Come here, mask this section off. Close this up. Invert that mask. Scale this. Bring it down. Right? And then I would start from there, just fine-tuning exactly where everything would be. So certain methods don't work for other ones, right? If I were to use the extract method, which you'll see here in a second, that would actually cause a little bit of it just causes a little bit issue. It doesn't really work as much here. But I can just come here, scale this up, turn that on, right? Start pushing and pulling, and then I can get a dress or a skirt or something, right? Yay! And of course, to mirror and welds, turn on symmetry, all that good stuff. So if I wanted a skirt, this would be a way to do it pretty quickly. But let's say I wanted some shorts. That's where the extract method comes in. So what I would recommend then is using, first things first, duplicating your subtool if you have subdivisions so you can delete lower. What I would do is I'd mask off, let's say we want something like this, and then something like this, right? Use this method here. Now the higher or the cleaner your topology, the better it will be. Okay, let's actually go a little higher. All right, there we go. Okay. So all I would do from here, let's go ahead and lower this down. Let's turn that back on. Loop. Is I would go to geometry, sorry, not geometry, subtool, extract. I would set this thickness to 0, because if you set it to anything else, it's going to give you, like, let's say we set it to, here we go. We hit extract, it's going to demonstrate the thickness of the cloth. And that's okay. The problem I have with that is that sometimes you might get something really huge and you're just going to be readjusting all the time. You're like, maybe a little bit more, a little bit more. And you don't always get the best clean topology. So what I recommend doing is just setting the thickness to 0, hitting extract, and then hit double. And now what this does, it gives me single-sided geometry. Now the topology will match whatever was on the model prior. So if you had Dynamesh model, which is what we did on the on Nezuko, you're going to have to really kind of focus on cleaning that up. But the thing to really remember is that not only will it keep the poly groups, but it's going to give you creased edges, and those creases are not going to be masked off, but everything else will. So I can actually hold control and invert this mask. I can even soften it up. You want to keep it masked, because then what we can do is use polish groups or polish features under deformation. Polish features will kind of clean that up a little bit. You see here how it's kind of warbly and kind of jagged. Just take polish features and that cleans that up. You can do that a couple times so we get some pretty decent edges. Okay. From there, we'll clear the mask. I like to go ahead and just make it a single poly group by hitting Control W. And then from there, you're going to go to geometry. And we're going to do some settings. Now, we don't want to shrink this topology down. This is where smooth groups comes in like a lot. So we're going to go to ZRemesher, say keep groups, even though we have one group, or not, it's not broken up. I made it one poly group. With keep groups turned off, smooth groups can't be affected. You can't edit that. And it's always set to 1 by default. It's just ZBrush's default method. So we're going to turn on keep groups. So now that option's available. And we're going to kick that to 0. This is going to ensure that the topology doesn't shrink down so much, if at all. Then we're going to say keep creases. So that way we have now told ZBrush, I want the groups to be stationary. Don't change them. Don't shrink it. Now take that crease and freeze those creases in place. Don't move those either. Now you're guiding ZRemesher to do exactly what you want it to do without giving it a bunch of lines. Okay, because that's what ZRemesher guide can do. Draw a bunch of lines out, and that's effective, but this works well. From here, I turn adapt off. If it is symmetrical, leave X on, leave symmetry on by hitting X. If it is not symmetrical, then of course turn X off. Leave that up to you. And then I like to pick a really low target polygroup, somewhere between 2 to 5 tends to work. So I'll hit 2, and then we're going to go ahead and hit ZRemesher. So now this is going to allow us to create a piece of clothing, and it's going to give us really low topology, but it's going to give us topology that is workable. Now, this isn't too bad, but we have some mess here. We have some poles here that are kind of funky. So what we can do is go back to ZRemesher, hit half. I'm not quite sure. 2's looking pretty good, but it's still a little messy. So I'm going to go ahead and half that. Now we have some pretty workable topology. Okay. Go ahead and smooth out some areas that we want, or if you want those creases, whatever works for you. Now we can turn this back on, and now we have some shorts that are pretty decent. Now let's make those visible, right? So what we can do, we can either use the extract method, or in this case, dynamic subdivision. Turn on dynamic, because we have the creases, so it's not going to shrink that down. If the crease was off, so let's uncrease all for a second. We turn on dynamic, just watch what happens to this top edge loop right here. And this bottom one too. Watch the edge loops at the very top and bottom. As soon as I hit D for dynamic, it kind of cuts it in half. Just kind of shrinks it down a little bit. So we can keep those creased for now. And you can always just hit crease polygroups, and that'll crease all the edges on the outside. Hit D. So now it's in subdivision, dynamic subdivision level. And now we're going to go to thickness and just give it some thickness that we can control. So this looks like 0.003. Maybe make that a gray color. Can go ahead and kind of light smooth it a little bit if we want. Right? Start manipulating that geometry. Here we go. So now we have a pair of shorts. Okay. Now what we can do is, instead of, if we wanted to 3D print this, let's say we're happy with it, we're done, and we want to 3D print this. Dynamic subdivision with thickness, what that does, if we solo this, is it creates an internal set of geometry and an external set of geometry, and then it takes those two and it connects them, right? With an edge loop on top and on bottom. But if I want to 3D print this and I want to make sure that it's completely watertight, what I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to go ahead and turn off thickness or turn off dynamic. Take thickness, drop that back down, turn that off. And I'm just going to go ahead, and now I can close holes, just like that. Now, what we can do is from here, we can go ahead and go back to crease, geometry crease, crease polygroups one more time. And then we can go ahead and ZRemesh that, which I'm just going to do the same way. So ZRemesh, keep groups, keep creases, but I'm going to say same. I want the same amount of topology that I had before. Go ahead and hit ZRemesher, and now you can see, again, my topology didn't shrink down. I kept the same amount of loops, so my mesh didn't get any more dense. And now if I hit D, from here I can just kind of scale that up a little bit if I would like to. Or what we can do is, before we even close those holes, this is where you can use Z Modeler. So now I'm just throwing ideas at you. You can use Z modeler, and you can, let's see here. Actually, let's just scale it up. Don't mind me. Just scale this up. There we go. Something like that. Probably the easiest way to do it. Right? Real simple way. There we go. Customizable shorts. Go ahead and close holes. Polygroup. Keep it. Z-remesh it. Yeah. Done. You're done. And it conforms to the body. So that's what I would do if you wanted to have something that conformed to the body. T-shirt, same thing. If I wanted a t-shirt, I would just go ahead, select this guy, come in here, same thing. Mask off exactly what I want. So there's just a bunch of ways to do it. Mask it off, come through here, and do the exact same thing. Extract it, accept it, soften that mask up, go ahead and keep creases, keep groups, drop that down, clean up that feature because they look gross, and just do all that. So hopefully that was helpful. Perfect, thanks a lot. Not a problem. This is the easiest way to do it when it comes to making clothing. It's just really, really simple. The other thing you can do too, since I'm on a tangent, and I know you guys like tangents. Oh my goodness, I hit a bunch of buttons. There we go. The other thing you can do as well is, like, let's lower this down a lot. Something like such. Hey, what's up, MJ Sculpts? How you doing, buddy? Welcome in, man. Welcome in. Now what you could do here with some clothing. I love this question. I actually get this question a lot, so hopefully this will be helpful for a lot of people. But let's go ahead and do double. Alright. Yay, so now we have this. What we can do is hit D for dynamic subdivision, right? Then what we can do is actually use, we can use dynamics, so cloth dynamics, right? Now we have this guy here, decent topology. And what we could do is essentially turn on collision volume, turn on inflate, gravity strength, we can take that down pretty low, say 0.05, count 1, recalculate. Ooh, that is too fast. Go. There we go. Kind of inflate that a little bit and smooth that down, right? Because clothing is not, clothing is not just a piece of static. I mean, unless it's like designed to be like skin tight, which I don't know how comfortable that would be. I guess that is person dependent. But do something like this, and then you just go ahead and Z-remesh this same, right? And then what you can do, kind of maybe bring that up a little bit, depending on what the cloth is. You can take the gizmo, and we're going to change it to cloth, the cloth gizmo. So, where are we? It is... I got it here somewhere. Hold on. I haven't used it in a while. Oh, wait. It's the T. There we go. It is the cloth transpose tool. Set this in center, and now we can kind of... You can see here that the clothing wants to deform to the body with the cloth transpose tool. Now you can, like, get some wrinkles, kind of fluff it up a little bit. Whatever you would like to do. Clearly, the options are yours. But yeah, fun little stuff like that. So there you go. Simple clothing. And you could do this with anything, guys. You could do this with armor. You can do this with base clothing. It's very simple to just mask off a section, extract it, clean up the topology, and you are good to go. All right, let's go ahead and delete all that and come back. How do I approach panel lines and piping for hero costumes? Ooh, MJ Sculpts coming in. I love that. I'll show you right now, man. I'll show you right now. Frame mesh is your best friend. See up here at the very top? I have frame mesh. Let me show you. All right. Let's say I wanted to give some piping on this cape here. What I would do is I would actually go ahead and go to geometry, crease polygroups. Okay. So I want to get that on the edge. From that moment in time, I would go up to stroke, curve functions, select creased edges, and frame that mesh. So now all that's there. I would grab my, let's just say for the sake of arguments, we want to use curve multiple tubes, or no, let's just use, where are you, baby? Oh, does it really matter? No, it doesn't, Ian. Doesn't matter. Curve alpha. Okay, great. Let me just adjust a couple things here. Curve modifiers. We don't have a funky curve. Anyway, I would just go ahead and tap that alpha and start that process. Now, of course, here too, if that's kind of giving you a really funky group there, we can turn that to crease border and frame the border instead. And there you go. And you can do that with poly groups as well. So if I want to back this up for a second, grab the Z modeler brush, and let's say I actually want to bevel. I create really matte. All right, let's do this right here. Let's say I want to just do this section here. Again, poly groups, frame that poly group. And then let's get the curved tubes brush. Bring that down. There you go. And then from there, you can actually split masked. Or, yeah, go to split loop. And split unmasked points, or split masked points, whichever you would like to do. And then now you have a piece that you end up just finessing. All that good stuff. Yeah, man, not a problem. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that one. Boop. There we go. All sorts of fun stuff. I got you guys, I got you as much as I can. All right. All sorts of little tricks like that. Remember those when the sculpt off comes. Gonna need them. And you guys know too, you guys can always play these back. I know if you're on Twitch or something like that, the VODs don't always stay as long as maybe we'd like them to, but we always keep them up on the Pixologic YouTube, so you can always come there, check that stuff out. Just in case. You didn't know? Now you know, Mr. President. Is Captain America? Am I Captain America? Maybe. No, this isn't Captain America. Well, wait. This one up here? You mean this zombie Captain America? Yeah, it is. Up here is my zombie cap for sure. Okay. Speaking of some cloth here. Okay. What do you do when you get on one part way too long? Wait, can you re-ask that? I'm assuming you mean, what do I do if I've been on a part for far too long? Is that what you mean? You know what we're gonna do with this real quick? This looks funky, guys. Let's take the knife curve. We're gonna cut our hands off. That, because guys, we're gonna go ahead and bring in some decent hands. So if you have a base mesh, I kind of showed you last week how I would approach hands, but this week I built a base mesh because I was bored, and I have some decent hands. I'm just gonna copy those. I'm gonna plop them in here. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel. If I want to elaborate on your question, what do I do when I get on one part way too long time? So I'm reading that as, what do I do if I'm on a part for far too long? Hopefully that's what you mean. If I'm on a part for a long time, it depends by what you mean by that. Because what I consider a long time may not be what you consider a long time. What I would consider a long time would be like, I'm sitting here for, a couple days and I haven't progressed the piece in any way, shape, or form. But the reality is that these parts take as long as they take. It's kind of hard to estimate what you would be considered a long time. For me, I honestly think that if I were to be here for 8 hours and not get any further, that might be a problem. But no, honestly, don't worry about how much time it takes. What I would worry about, the things I would stress about, isn't how long something takes. It's, am I progressing in my sculpt? So if I am sitting here adding a hand and positioning it like this, and then putting here and putting it here, and I'm doing this for 20-30 minutes, that might be a sign that I'm stuck. And if you're stuck, walk away. Just, stand up, get away from your desk, take a coffee break, take a day break if it's a hobby. Just give yourself some time away from it, because honestly, that's probably all you need, is just to get a chance to walk away. So if you're not advancing in your sculpt, just don't fret it. Just take a moment to just relax and get away from the piece. But I mean, if you're truly stuck, where the point is that it doesn't matter how much time you take away, you're stuck, maybe think about the thing you're attempting and what you're trying to do, and research it. Maybe somebody else out there has it, a YouTube video. Ask your teacher. If you're in school, come here, ask me, and see what we can do to kind of help you get past that part. Ultimately, experience over time is what's going to benefit you. But don't worry about how fast you want to be on something. Just worry about getting it done, and take your time. There's no rush. I've had pieces that taken me, like this Captain America bust that's up here in this corner. This piece ultimately took me about 15-16 hours. It was just the bust. I started from a basic head shape and just worked my way through it. Whereas I've worked on pieces that have taken me 4 weeks. It just depends. But don't worry about how long something takes. What I would worry about is, am I happy with the results I'm getting? Is this looking the way I want it to look? Now, of course, that is different if you are on a job. Then you definitely want to kind of, reevaluate what's going on. Maybe ask a coworker. Doesn't hurt to ask for help. Hopefully that's helpful. If not, you can just tell me to silence down. And I'll tell you, I've asked at my work other people, like, hey, what do you think about this? This is, I don't think anything that I do is super amazing. I just try my best to get it looking pretty good. But you kind of know when you're stuck. You kind of know when you're having problems, and that's okay. Anyway, don't mind me. I kind of don't want to advance further in details, nor do I know how. Relaxing is part of the process for sure. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, guys, just have fun, you know? Especially if you're trying to do this for a career. If you're trying to do this for a career, definitely have fun with it. Because, you know, every job has its downsides. Every job is stressful to a degree. But if you're having fun, then those days aren't so bad. Go ahead and solo this out. Grab that. I'm gonna mask off her wrist. And a little bit. Switch that, mask that there. Whee! Mask that there. There we go. Get her hand in there a little bit. That way it looks a little bit better. And we should definitely save. And then we're going to start the head block out because I don't want to progress too far. There's still a lot to do with her clothing, but I kind of want to get to the head. For her legs real quick, though, what I will say that I'm going to do is we're actually going to take her body. We're going to duplicate it one more time. Okay, and I'm actually going to cut off these sections here, that section there, like that. Complete hidden. Mask off this section here. Oh, if you are not a pro yet, doesn't make sense to care about. Just still learning. Hold on. What is happening? Trying to select the chat and it won't let me. Let's see. If you're not a pro yet, don't make sense. Care about still learning. Okay, cool. Yeah. Looking good. The sculpt's not me. Aww. Chimerian King. It's like a double whammy. Like, ugh. But the sculpt looks good. Okay, great. All right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and kind of fluff this up a little bit here. So what we got going on here is we're just gonna kit bash quickly. And again, so real a pro tip for when you're trying to get something looking pretty good, and you need to move quickly, borrow your pieces as often as possible. I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut there. There we go. I'm gonna cut here. My goodness. What we're gonna do? We're gonna mask this section off right there. We're gonna mask this section off right here. Like that. This is where we're gonna just start slicing and dicing her body up. Okay, we're gonna mask this section off right here. Actually, let's just mask her whole lower section there. Like that. Sharpen. Grab that. Control W. We're gonna go ahead and delete hidden. I'm gonna close holes. There we go. Let me back that up for a second. Actually going to save this top part right here. Delete hidden. Close holes. There we go. Yeah. All right. I did that to lighten the load a little bit, but trust me here in a second. I'll show you why. I grab this guy here. Remember that handy dandy base mesh we talked about? Let's grab this guy. Let's copy it. The feet, that is. Just kind of moving quickly here. Because, you know, why not? Oh, what happened? Okay, great. That mask. lower that topology a bit. Here. Oh, I see what happens. I have the cloth. I have the. I'm an idiot. Be careful when you have the cloth transpose tool, guys. Because here I am trying to move it, and it's doing all sorts of funky stuff. BC, and let's put it back to transpose. Ooh. X, turn that off. Rotate that around. There we go. That dangers of using cloth transpose. Hey, Eric, San, how are you doing? Let's see. Hey, Ian, did you see the new Nick the Human Male Z tool in Lightbox? It has hair now. Oh, I did not, MJ. I did not. That's pretty exciting, man. I'm gonna have to check that out, buddy. Dealing with hair is oh so fun. Now, get some decent feet in here. Now, she doesn't actually have toes in the sculpt itself. And real quick here, let's turn everything off but what we need. I mean, she obviously has toes, but her toes aren't showing. Just her main toe. We're going to put some actual feet in there that work. Great. That's better. Beautiful. Okay. Stick with that for now. All right. Let's start getting the face block. Do I have an art station? I do have an art station. Actually, here. I will send you guys my link tree, which will take you to some free models that we did. If you guys would like to know. So here's my link tree. If you take the first link to my free statues, we have some stuff including the zombie Captain America that everybody seems to like so much. So you guys can download that for free if you would like. And also, too, I have my ArtStation, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. YouTube, I haven't been making videos in a little bit, just been kind of busy, but, you know, it is there if you guys would like. Okay. All right. Let's start getting the heads blocked in. So we're going to block out a, essentially, we're going to block out an anime head, and I'm going to kind of walk through how I do that. And then from there, what I'll do for a lot of this other clothing, because it is just taking too long to do what I would like to do, I can do some of that more clothing off screen, but essentially it'll be the same process, just kind of repeat stuff, yeah. So, yes, for free. The Cults 3D is an account in which I like to kind of drop, I like to drop some stuff. I like to share some of my works. So a lot of stuff, pretty much everything I do here, guys, I'm going to be dropping. So the Bokoblin statue and the zombie bust we did here, plus some other stuff here that a lot of people know me for, like the Darth Grogu, the Gwenum that I did, which feels like forever ago, but I guess it was like almost a year ago. And then some other stuff, including the Chun-Li one. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that stuff, feel free. Enjoy it, because I just like to give stuff away. Okay, let's focus on blocking out an anime head. So what we're going to do is let's actually say, and we're just going to go ahead and delete that guy for a second. That's okay. Switch this out. Now I delete stuff after I save, because if I'm not using it, there's no point in having it take up storage. Okay. Yes, make Polymesh 3D. Yay! Alright, guys. So blocking out an anime head. First things first, let's actually get some pretty good reference. So let's go to texture, go to import, Demon Slayer Sculpture, Nezuko reference. The one that I want. Yeah, this should be the one. Okay. Okay. So, while I am not an expert in anime sculpting, I think I do fairly well. And there are a few tips and tricks that I want to follow. The first things first is that kind of like whenever you think about sculpting a head, you kind of got to throw that anatomy knowledge out the window, and you got to stick with the front view and the side view. And it's a little bit of tug and pull here and there. So let's go ahead and grab this. We're going to set our scale up. So we're trying to match the look of Nezuko here. I'm going to position this, and I'm going to drop the opacity. Gwynum looking awesome. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, Gwynum is one of my favorite ones. Okay. What I like to do is go to movie, timeline, and I'm going to show it. I'm going to go ahead and just move my sphere to something that I think should be almost the shape of her head. Go. Actually, let's move this over. We're going to bring in one more texture. So we're going to import Demon Slayer, and we're going to bring in the secondary texture here. What I want to do is kind of get this as close to the same size as possible. So we can go ahead and drop here, scale this up. Get this as close as we can to each other. These are the two views we want to work with. What I can do is actually use my Epic Pen, hold, delete, grab this line, kind of see how close I am. Actually, that's pretty close. Chin to chin, not too bad. Could probably scale that down just a little bit. Like that. Oh, that's not too bad. Bit. There we go. Nice. Hey, not too bad for eyeballs. Okay. Go ahead. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this timeline. We're going to move the sphere over again. Kind of getting it as close as possible. Can move over this way so we can get a better angle. Okay. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and tap in the timeline. Tap in the timeline is actually going to set where this position is. So if I move this over here and use the arrow keys, I can snap back. Then we're actually going to rotate to the side. I'm going to bring this over. Actually, I'm going to scale this up a little bit more. The profile side gives us a lot more what we're looking for. Let's actually delete this. A lot of prep work in the beginning. We're trying to envision, okay, her head a little bit. So what we're really looking for is anime heads are made up of spheres that then have some body to them. Okay. And the face resides in this lower quarter, or this lower quadrant of that sphere. So that's what we are essentially looking for at the moment. Let me just position that there. Okay, let's hit that timeline for the first one. Rotate that around. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and shape this quite where we need it. So there, like that. All right, and that will be the second one. Now we can use the arrow keys and bounce back and forth really quickly. I tried 1 billion times to sculpt a head using Spotlight and failed 2 billion times. Yeah. Oh, Fafa, what's up, buddy? Pika pika, buddy. Okay. So let's go ahead and now we're going to start shaping some stuff. So because we have the knife tool, we're going to go ahead and turn on symmetry. Now we can use the knife tool. We can also use the clip tool, clip curve, which is right there. So with anime heads, it's really important to note that you just need the front view and you just need the side view. You get to make up the 3/4 a bit. So you don't have to worry too much about being perfect out the gate. We're going to use Dynamesh for this process too, by the way. Keep it nice and loose. And we can always turn this off and focus on softening it, rounding it where we need it to. Again, then using the arrow keys, turning Spotlight back on. Now I'm just going to start pulling this down. Creating a basic anime head shape. Just worried about the top view and the front view. I'm sorry, the side view and the front view. Mesh that, clean that up a little bit. Kind of wanted to go over my process and how I do it. But I'm still kind of tweaking this process a bit. Now I'm going to kick over to the side view. So this is the front, right? The most important thing about anime heads is you want to make sure that you are keeping the look and feel of anime. If you have any type of anime sculpture work, or you've seen other 3D models of it, the 3/4 view is almost insignificant. Not as important as that front view. That's what reads anime. So we're going to go through and make sure that now, come here, turn this back on. I'm going to bring this forward, and there's going to be a lot of correcting here and there. I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring these shapes around. That, clean that up a little bit. Got that nose. This is where now we can kind of see a little bit of the 3/4 feel. So with the 3/4 feel, what I do is I just commonly just kind of get a decent head shape in there. You're always going to you are always going to look at the 3/4 view, but it's not as important as the rest. Okay. Here, notice we got off of center a little bit. Okay. Again, retaining that shape is the most important part. Plus, it's going to help us keep that that kind of look like what we want. Now, what I like to do with some edges here is I'll actually kind of like a chin, highlight that, bring it down. I'll actually kind of pinch it. For the cheeks, we'll pull the cheeks out a little bit. Dove's anime. Kiwister. All right. Get some eye sockets in here. Back here. Making sure we're keeping that ideal head shape. Now I'm also going to create the jaw by just using the damn standard, kind of getting that jawline focused on. Back here. Now we're going to place the neck. Just going to grab basically my, like an insert primitive, like that. Drag that out. Snap that back. That up. Go. Kind of mesh that. A lot of her head is covered, so I'm not going to worry too much about that, but we can bring that in a little bit. The more you understand anatomy, the easier making this head will be, because you can know where you can kind of fake it. Kind of creating the clavicle area. Here, look at the side profile. Make that neck a little bit bigger. Like that. You can get a pretty decent anime head blocked out. Now we can start refining it. Now for something like this, what we can do, I'm going to go ahead and save as. Come in here and we'll call this Nezuko head blockout. There we go. Yep. Now we can start focusing on where her ears would be. Here real quick. Round that bit up a little bit. Okay, great. Okay. Grab another primitive. Grab a sphere. We can grab a low poly sphere. Go ahead and use local sim. We're going to squish it. Put it back here. Now we can go ahead and start positioning where the ear would be. I rotate it a bit. Scale it up. How many base meshes do you have? I have a couple. I have a couple male and a couple female base meshes. And I have one, I would say one decent female base mesh that I like. There we go. Now, luckily, her ears are pretty covered. Okay. So we don't need to worry too much. Just want to get the placement relatively correct. And a decent rule of thumb with anime heads is that the ears will not exceed past the eyes. So we want to make sure that we don't go too far past. I'm going to use the move infinite along with the move brush, kind of push these back a little bit, kind of block out basic shape of the rest of the ear. Because we can see right here, this part of the ear, we can pretty much assume that the rest will come around over. So that's what we do. Okay, we're going to actually increase the resolution now. I'm at 48. Let's take it to about There, that'll be good. Okay. Go ahead and make sure that we adjust the rest as needed. Now, the cool thing about Nezuko is we don't really need to worry about her mouth so much. But what we do want to focus on is right here on the side of her head. There's a really good plane change. So what I like to do, come in here, flatten this area up, blend that with the ear a bit. And I like to come in here and round this section off right here, creating this little plane change right here. Then for the remainder of her eyebrows, using the ear placement, we're going to start pulling forward the bridge of her forehead. Such nice subtle changes. And then we're going to soon move into getting some subdivisions. De-remeshing it, getting some cleaner mesh. Right now, it's pretty bad. I'll start somewhere. You can also take the pinch brush, come in here, start shaping her jaw a little bit. Okay. Get that nice cleaned up a little bit. Take the clay buildup, give her a little bit of a jawline, a neck. So where real anatomy can come in, you can use some subtlety and put in neck details and a little bit, not much, of her traps. That down a little bit, smooth that out. Yeah, at the end, if there's time, I can show you one or two of my base meshes for sure. Okay. Now this part here is going to be hidden down at the bottom, so I'm not worried too much about that. I am worried about the lead up to it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is kind of focus in on the eyes a bit, because obviously these are just pushed back. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and mask off her eye shape. Now here's what's cool, is we get to kind of come through here, grab the mask pin, we can mask off the basic shape of her eyes and see that there's obviously a little bit of correcting that needs to happen. That means here that I have her cheekbones and her jaws a little bit too much. We're going to smooth this down a bit. Using Trim Dynamic for this. I'm actually going to go ahead and take SK's clay brush. I'm actually going to fill that cavity back up. Keep this kind of flat. Okay. If you guys don't have SK's brushes, you guys absolutely have to get his brushes. They are amazing. If you need a link, let me know. In fact, I'll just drop it real quick, because they are phenomenal. I use them all the time. So shout out to Sakaki and his brushes, because they are free. So yeah, that's what I'm using currently. Okay. Kind of went through and re-flattened this area out. Now what I can do, come in here, take that mask again. Also, too, noticing the nose is a little high. And bring that down. Yep. Come through. Mask this section off. Also, too, what I'd like to point out is right here. This is where her eyebrows start. Even though she has eyebrows here, that part of the forehead just above the orbit, that's what the socket of your eye is called. Okay, so we can kind of just map that out for a second so we know where that's at. I'll fill this up a little bit. Okay. Yep. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn that into a selection here. Sorry, not a selection. We're going to make it a polygroup. Yep. Now what I'm going to like to do is use the smooth groups. So with smooth groups, you can actually find that brush under the spotlight brush, and then you can go to smooth, and then you have smooth groups. Love this brush. That'll do is we can come through here, smooth this section off. Now I can help shape the eye a little bit. Just like so. Push this back just a little bit. We'll worry about rebuilding her cheekbones in a second. What we're looking for is the right position of that eye. Her eye's pretty round. Okay. Like a pretty decent position here. Go. Now I can select this. Actually go ahead and just go to masking, and we can mask the border. There. Kind of bring that up a little bit. Go, kind of smooth that. So it's all about just getting the right position here. Okay. Do I have the link to the STL for the Anatomy Man? Sorry, I can't think of the name of it. Absolutely. It's a Ecrochet, and the 3D printable one, and also Rafael Grassetti's is the one I use and highly recommend. Pull it up for you. So here is the link for it. If you scroll down at the bottom, free Ecrochet print file, go ahead and just download that right there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to create a hotkey for it so you guys know. Definitely worth it. Probably one of the best crochet models out there, and truly amazing that he even dropped it for free. Okay. Yep. Now what I can do is actually put this back here. Kind of note that I'm going to take the clay buildup. I'm actually going to go ahead and just slightly build up where those cheeks should be. Again, we're trying to get the look of Nezuko as close as we can. We want to make sure we bring in her features as best as we can. And again, notice I'm still just trying really hard to keep the shape and feel of the head. There we go. Ears down a little bit. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right, now what we're going to do, let's get these eyes pushed back in there. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to want to crease and create subdivisions for this part. So let's go ahead and save before I do that. Now what I'm going to do is go to Geometry, Crease Polygroups, go to ZBrush, same thing like we did before. Keep groups, don't smooth them, keep creases, and let's actually start. I'm going to start with the high. I'm going to start with like 10,000 because I think that's going to be really good. ZBrush. Now we're going to start cleaning that up a little bit. Okay. Anytime you ZBrush, you're always going to get just a little bit of funkiness that happens. Okay, we're going to push this eye back. Get this nose up here a little bit. Yep. Okay, so actually there. Beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this. And what I want to do is actually kind of smooth this up a little bit. I want to bring these eyes more forward. What we can do actually before we do all that, actually go to masking and mask by border. Convert that. There we go. Now I'm just using clay buildup and I'm building up the section so that it gets a little bit more domey. I've masked off the border of this. I can smooth this and kind of get that roundness to the eye that I'm looking for. What's cool is even though we have hidden topology, that topology is going to move around for us even though it's hidden. So if I adjust this corner right here, yeah, his course is insane. Absolutely. I've actually taken his male anatomy course a few years ago. Really, really helpful, guys. Go. Grab this. Let's soften that a little bit. I'm actually going to push this back now. Oh. take the pinch brush now. I'm actually going to come down side of her head. Part in here. Grab the SK. Actually get... There we go. That's a little bit better. They build up a bit. That center. Pinch that a little bit. So just refining it nice and slow. Really helpful to just take your time with this piece. What do you guys think about doing this as a hobby and not getting a real job? If you want to, yeah, absolutely. There's tons of hobbyists, man. I think in my country there's no industry for sculpt models. No, it's absolutely fine, 100%. You can work from home. You can work from your home to the world, absolutely. Yep, just start with personal project. Absolutely, you got to start somewhere. Start with personal projects and then work your way up slowly. Okay, we're going to go ahead and apply the subdivision now so we have a little bit more topology. Now I'm going to clean up the inside of this. I actually work from home currently, even though I work at Funko. Like, I'm working from home because of the current life situation that everybody's aware of. So you know, find a job that helps get you what you're looking for. Worried, but let's get the shape right. Hi. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, while I'm not that good to work as a freelancer, you'd be surprised, man. You got to start somewhere. Just put yourself out there. If you feel like you are getting to a point where you might be ready for work, give it a shot. But yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be confident about it. You're not using PureRef. For my main reference, I am using PureRef. Brock Rock, awesome name by the way. But for matching the anime style, I am using the texture spotlight tool to ensure that I actually have it right where I need it to be. This way I could just overlay it really easily. Okay. That job there. You can see I'm just refining at this moment in time. Get that nice. Go. Okay. Now, if I remember right, I mean, it doesn't really matter, actually. It's a pretty simple, straightforward. So what we could do now is actually just start bringing in some hair and just kind of refining this a bit. So what we're going to do is actually insert a sphere, or cylinder, not a sphere. Wow. Know your tools, man. I'm going to keep this in the center. Now, here's a really cool feature that is new with 2021.7 that I'm getting more and more used to because I like it, and it's called Stager. So what I can do is I can bring this up here and keep this dead center, like such. Okay? I'm going to expand it out. I'm going to go ahead and delete loops. And then I'm going to go ahead and mirror and weld just so I have true symmetry. And then what I can do is from here, I can set a home position. Okay. And now this is going to be really good for working on models that you need to see big amount of detail, but you want to then shrink down. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and drop this down, scale it. Okay. Go ahead and actually turn on spotlight. I'm going to bring this down here. Touch. Scale this out. Go. That's about where I want it. I'm going to hit target stage. All right, now I can switch between the two. No problem. I could also delete my home stage, send this home, bring this up, reset my home stage, and it still works. So however you want to do it. And from there, we're going to go ahead and use the Z Modeler brush. We're just going to go ahead and model a couple things. So we have symmetry turned on, insert. Go ahead and insert a couple edges. Now this is what's really cool. I can then set this to this position, switch stage. See, yep, that's actually pretty close to where I want it. Switch stage. Hit F on the keyboard to zoom in. Okay. Gonna grab this. Gonna go ahead, let's see here. Turn this to extrude, extrude all. Gonna bring this up a little bit. That a couple times. Select this whole section here. Something like that. Now I can go ahead and all I'm going to do is group by normals, which you could find that if you go under poly loops and then group by normals. It's actually going to select each major plane change at a 45 degree, and that's going to give it its own poly groups. Okay. I'm then going to go ahead to geometry. I'm going to go to crease. I'm going to crease poly groups, but I'm going to kick down crease to like subdivision level 3. I'm going to subdivide a couple times, and once I get past 3, I'm actually going to kind of soften that up. We can even kick that down to 2. Go. Let's back that up a little bit to there. Let's say 2. Apply that. So it kind of gives it a nice little round edge. All right. Or what we can do as well is instead of doing it that way, we can go into dynamic subdivision, hit dynamic, and same thing. Yeah, deal with that. Smooth subdivision. Yeah, deal with creases, kick that up to about 2. What I would like to do real fast, come in here, add this loop here. And add this loop in here. Big old brush. Go. What are you doing? Really? Okay. Well, that's kind of a pain. We're gonna do, let's go this. Let's do poly loop edge. Grab that point. Yeah, there we go. Weld that. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm just going to hold this hue mesh all. I'm going to bring that in. Something like that. That way it's going to give us a little bit of depth. And I want some roundness here, so we're going to come here, insert, grab this edge here, hold it, delete. It's going to naturally bevel that edge. looking like that. Okay, now go to Stager and switch it back. There we go. Now let's reposition that right where we want it. And we can actually cause this to have a little bit of a bow. So we're going to use our gizmo. We can either do this way, or, even better, go ahead, solo this out. Nope. Come here to bin curve or deformer. Let's go deformer soft. We'll just create a little bit of a bend like that. Go. So 3D, push that back in our mouth. Beautiful. Let's see, unless you don't have to sculpt to her mouth. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then let's take a look at her character one more time. So it looks like we have a band that's wrapping around and underneath her ear. So what we're going to do is, this is just going to be really simple. We're just going to go ahead and insert a cylinder. Same thing, delete loops. Okay. I'm going to angle this up a little bit. And kind of stick that back there for now. We're going to be putting hair back here, so it doesn't really matter exactly what we do. Going to go ahead and hit D. Make that dynamic. Now, if we really want to, let's take D off for a second. Go ahead and group by normals. We're going to grab this edge loop here and delete hidden. Grab the Z modeler brush, add some supporting edge loops. So we hit D and it'll be a lot softer. And then we can add some thickness if we would want. Go. Go. Perfect. Add a little bit of thickness to that. Using dynamic subdivision at this point. Kind of bury that in there. Something like that. Even strength that. Then we're going to hit Control and drag out another shape. Something like that. Now we have multiple. We have two poly groups, so we can go to auto masking and turn on topological. Now we can move one of those individually to kind of create the look that we want. And again, we're going to have hair back here, so you can just shove that back up there. It's not going to really matter because it's going to bleed into the hair. If I really wanted, if she was bald or it was going to show, then at some point I would make sure that wrapped properly, but it doesn't really have to at this moment. There we go. Hey, what's up, my stepbrother? How you doing? What are we doing? This is the best software ever. It's fantastic or not? It absolutely is. The best software in the whole wide world. Absolutely. Okay. Now let's get some hair block out. We take a look at her hair shape. It's pretty simple. At least the block out is. You know, it comes out here, then it flows on down. She has pretty long hair. Hairline is here. So what we're gonna do is get some pretty big shapes and connect those. So we're gonna get some pretty, just decent big chunks of hair. That's really where we're gonna be focusing. All right. So let's do that. So let's go ahead and we could do this one of two ways. I think we're just going to stick with the basic sphere. Okay. And I'm going to start with this side here. Kind of chunk it out a little bit. Grab that snake hook. Just start pulling. Nice and simple. Just temporary hair anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and block the main shape of it before we start building any of our layers. It's just morbid. So if you have not seen Demon Slayer, there's a piece of bamboo in her mouth. I won't spoil why, go watch it. It's an awesome anime. But welcome in, man. Okay, we're going to also use some Dynamesh just to quickly there we go. Had a mask for some reason. It's actually a very good anime, absolutely. Just Google Demon Slayer. So you can see my process is pretty much the same thing. I'm trying to get blocked out as much as possible. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy on her hair because we still have the A pose shape. But what I am doing is just making sure, I'm going to duplicate that. I just get the basic feel of it. Now, check this out, guys. This is pretty cool. A really new, it's not really a new feature, but you guys know if you were to mirror in Welds, it mirrors in Welds pretty well from screen left to screen right. But if you have nothing on the right side and you want to mirror in Weld, if you have nothing on the left side but you want to mirror and weld your object on the right, it does work. So just go to Geometry, Modify Topology, Mirror and Weld, and that does work. So just in case you were wondering. Oops, I hit Shift X too many times. It did it again. No, stop. Don't come back. Yes. Woof, woof. Meant to hit Shift Z. Go. Okay, perfect. Parts over. Push this down. So with hair, always start from a block out. Always get the main bulky shapes of the hair there first. It is just easier to lay layers on top of it afterward. Let's go! It needs tentacles. Yeah, I'm all caught up with it. It's one of the best. Why does she look so scared? All depends on what part. Look at that. Okay, so her part's actually a little bit more over here. Again, just snake hook, start moving. Rebellion of the Subtools. I know. Do whatever they want, eh? Okay. Take this guy right here, and let's start swooping that back a little bit. And just looking at the flow of her, getting that hair blocked out. Here, and assume that it's pretty much flowing the same way on that side. There's a pretty big forehead, actually. Got a few more minutes before we take off for the day. So if you guys got any final questions, let me know. Now, we're not done with this head quite yet, but what I will do, so I'll announce what I'll do off stream. What I'm going to do is block in Tanjiro's head off stream, and we'll bring that into our piece. But we'll refine everything much later. Again, we're just still trying to get the whole sculpture blocked out as much as possible. You can see we can already get a pretty decent look and feel of her, no problem, right? So what we can do now, get this little refined just a little bit more. See. Yes, sculpting the hair in motion is going to be a lot of fun. We'll tackle a lot of that next week. No, I wish I was, but no. This is just a little bit of fan art. Most of the stuff I do here is just going to be personal projects, because a lot of the stuff I work on is backed by NDAs. So you got to be careful what we show. Unfortunately. But fortunately. You know? Okay, let's go ahead and make sure. So what's really cool is her, she has kind of a widow's peak a bit. Actually, take a look. Maybe I'm wrong here before we add that in. No, okay, she doesn't. It's just swooping the way it's swooping. Got it. Never mind. Not a widow's peak, is just swooping a little bit more over here and down. Oof, made a mistake, guys. Almost. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Here we go with the Nezuko. There we go. So now we got nice little flowy shapes. Go ahead and push this back up here. Actually, let's take the clay brush now. And so much time. Well. That Captain America zombie available for download? I love that in my UI. You guys would like the Captain America cam view? All you got to do is just pop into my Discord, and I will throw it in there after the stream. Absolutely. Discord is at the bottom. Enjoy. You guys want to hear something really, really cool about the cam view, which is awesome, is that it captures your render setups as well, which I could show you that in a minute. But if you set up a really cool scene, you can actually like render out a really nice cam view, which is what I did here, which is why there's a bunch of like light effects and stuff on it. But yeah, you guys can definitely have that. Okay. We have the basic shape. Still going to need some refinement, but again, it's all about blocking out your stuff. At the end of the day, make sure you block out your entire piece before going into any details. So that means secondary forms and tertiary forms. Really, really make sure that you sit there and you block out the majority first, and then from there, move in stages. So we're going to go ahead and save this. This is our main block out that we can use. We got a basic anime head shape, the hair, the proper mouthpiece that we need for her because it's our character, not being weird, promise. What do I know about Jack Kirby? The man Jack Kirby, he is the man. It's pretty cool. Switch over to Cap. Heck yeah. Okay, what we're going to do is actually I'm going to load in now our Demon Slayer sculpture, the big base block out. Okay, so here's our main block out. Now this head of hers, so we're going to go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to move into this piece here. And we're going to go ahead and merge visible. So now that's going to create one subtool with everything merged in. That then we can copy and bring over here. And we can go ahead and paste this. And there it is, all nice and big in its glory. So if we wanted to, now this is where Shader really can come in handy. I can either work on the head sculpt here as, you know, in the center world, or bring it up above and work on it there, and then set it to its correct position. However, I don't really want to have this whole project overwhelmed. So I think for right now, I'll set the stager in case I want to, if I change my mind and that's what I would like to do. So I'll hit home stage. But then I'm going to go ahead and hit the target stage by bringing this over, bringing that around, scaling this down. Let's bring it in its proper position. Now what's really cool is what we can do. We could take this block, right? Let's do transpose. So this block is relevant to the body's head shape. So we don't want to just throw it away. We want to use it to make sure that we have really good scale with the head. Turn this around. Turn it off for a second. Make sure we're positioning it the way we need to. Turn it back on, make sure it's relevant to its size. Okay. Go ahead and take this for a second. Gonna mask off. We're running out of time. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Go ahead and stretch that neck up a little bit. Go. Make sure it's facing the right way. Okay, now we can turn that off. Make sure that we get it set the rest of the way as needed. I tweaked that really hard. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, just watching you get those big decisions and learning a lot. Absolutely. A lot of times it's just all about making sure you got it right where you need it to be. And this isn't even the final position. This is just so we could start seeing everything come together the way we need it to, right? So at the end of the day, we're just making sure that that we set a good position, that we see the whole piece come to life before we start refining anything. And with big pieces like this, you know, the tricky part is always going to be, you know, how do we make sure that it feels the way we need it to feel? And with that, it's just all about taking your time, making sure that it is working, and don't be afraid to pivot if it's not working. Pass that section off. Now I can kind of move her hair a little bit more. Let's actually grab the snake hook brush. Just for temporary fun, go ahead and just start pulling that hair out. So I'm actually going to refine her hair more officially, so we can use this as a block out. Look at our reference piece. You can see here how her hair is kind of swooping back and up. And there is an ear showing, which is fun. So we can start getting to that point where we showcase the ear a little bit more. There's still so much hair back here. Let's actually turn on back face. Pull a lot of that hair forward. Okay. Let's actually just Dynamesh, but we'll keep groups. So let's actually come here, take that. Perfect. Actually, grab this guy, this. Perfect. Let's go ahead and split hidden. Grab here. Because this is a temporary head, but we might use the hair, we're going to go ahead and just Dynamesh this at a higher resolution. We'll keep groups going. So we'll actually group this on its own thing. Meant to keep groups. Turn groups on, turn off blur. I'll keep things a little bit separate. Select the hair whenever I want. There we go. Grab clay, move it a little bit fast now. Yeah, it demands technique, but lots of patience too. Absolutely. Yep. And you just want to take your time. You don't want to rush it. You know, at the end of the day, the best part is just pulling out a good piece, right? You can move a lot of this here. Get some good flow going. See, already it's starting to come alive a little bit, you know? Still so much more to do. I can't even stress that enough. But we can already kind of see the direction that it's going, and then we can start making smarter decisions. Like here, honestly, one of the things I want to do, let's save it real fast. We'll call this block out 4. Okay. I'm actually going to go ahead, let's go to T-pose mesh, because I'm feeling like she's a little too tilted. How big am I thinking of printing this piece? Yeah. I'm thinking about maybe 1/12 scale. That might be pretty good. 1/8 scale might be pretty good too. I want a big piece. Okay. Now what I can do is I could just move her. Thinking I may want her to be a little bit more tilted. kind of need her coming out of the box. Bye-bye. Oh, it might be kind of cool as if she's going that way a little bit. See how that reads. What we can do is turn on silhouette. We can look at it from all sides. Yeah, I think that might work. Clear that up. Okay, we'll leave that decision making for a later date. Let's see. 1/4 scale? No, I don't think so. Let's see. Hey, Ian, do you know what's the topic for the ZBrush Summit? Nope. Have no real clue. Just ZBrushing. Now, if for the Sculpt Off, they will make the announcement. Pixologic themselves. So no streamer is gonna know. And if we did, we still wouldn't tell you. I might need something to practice painting. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Last question, I promise. How do you scale your sculptures? We will get there, but what I can say is if you would like to, I have a video that might help you out. Get there a little bit closer. In fact, where are we? Right here. If you go to my YouTube channel, so take my link tree. Go to YouTube, and then on my channels, just go to ZBrush Help. Don't listen to any ads. We're not playing there. And then right here, have a how to scale. There we go. And I think this one will just be it. You can go ahead and just take that bad boy, and that will walk you through it. There we go. So, yep, we're probably going to play with this a lot more. I think this is going pretty good. We may have to adjust her legs a bit more. I feel like, we're kind of breaking them, so... Yeah, I think we're going to push her legs a little bit more next time. I might actually just tweak that off screen just to get that right. But we got one head in. Now we'll do Tanjiro's head next. And then we'll start moving into the final block out, which will then move into secondary form. So it is getting there, but with big pieces, just take your time. Let's see here. What's the summit? So every year, Pixologic throws what is called a summit. It's a way to showcase the latest and greatest with ZBrush, and also, too, sometimes they have guests on, companies that use it, people who use it in their professional life to help kind of showcase the power of ZBrush. So you can actually go to YouTube and type in ZBrush Summit, and you can see previous years. Before last year, it was always in person, but 2020, due to life, they did a first virtual ZBrush Summit, and it was amazing. And this year they're doing the same thing, so it'll be virtual, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can tune in, and, not only that, but they also have a ZBrush Sculpt Off, yo. You can register to participate. It's a 3-hour Sculpt Off. They will be announcing the theme as they get closer. That's an announcement that Pixologic makes. No streamers, again, will know that information, especially since some of us are competing, so we don't have an advantage. We have no idea what the theme is going to be until Pixologic announces that publicly. So just don't ask any streamer. We're not going to know. But you can go ahead and register. You can see who's sponsoring it. If you hit call for artist, again, you can come in here and it will load up the live Sculpt Off, which is a 3-hour session completely done in ZBrush and rendered for the most part. You can read all the rules, all that good stuff. You can use any version of ZBrush, from ZBrush Core Mini to ZBrush Core, the trial version. You can download it and practice that, whatever works. So if you would like to participate, all you have to do is just make sure you stream, and that will be good to go. So check all that good stuff out. Anyway, guys, I hope this big process is actually helpful for you guys. I decided a super huge piece to make sure that as you follow me each week, we get closer and closer to a final product. And it's at a pace that you can go back and watch, sculpt with me, or just pick up the tips and tricks as I go through. I also like to showcase when I have issues, because the reality is that as a sculptor, even as a professional, we're not going to be nailing it right each and every time. So what do we do when we get stumped? Well, hopefully those visualizations can help you, but talking it out, going through my process, hopefully this is something that intrigues you guys. Please let me know if this is helpful in any way, shape, or form. Because, yeah, I want to be that guy who helps you out. Anyway, all right, guys, that is it. I will take one more question. Anybody got a question? There will be so many pros in the Sculpt Up, I'm sure. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. I participated last year when I was freelancing before I turned pro, and I was surprised how well I did. If anything, it's good experience. So, but you know, you never know. The guy who won last year, I don't think ever participated before. Zidane, I think his name is. He blew everybody out of the water. So, yeah. All right, guys. Very valuable. Yay! You are that guy? Well, thanks, guys. All right. Well, that being said, make sure to catch me every Sunday at 5. If you had any questions, go back to the VOD on YouTube, type in your question in the comments section, or just let me know how it's going over there as well. If you're watching this afterwards, and if you stuck all the way through this, thank you. I appreciate you all. Anyway, that is it, guys. We're going to go have fun, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Please join my Discord if you'd like to hang out and join other artists as well. I'm going to drop that link one more time. Just plug in everything. Oh, yes, show female base mesh. Okay, 2 seconds. Yes. Load. I'm going to load. I'll show you 2 things. So this will be really fast, and then I'm going to go. Luckily, nobody's actually right after me, so... okay, here's my female... anime base mesh. I'm going to stamp that real quick for you. I'm planning on releasing these, so if you are interested in having all that good stuff, let me know. I'm going to take this off screen for just a second, make sure I don't show anything else in the world of Carmen Sandiego. For the stream, of course. Let's see here, blah, 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 blah. I just want to make sure I do that. I have another base mesh here. Where? I have a male one. Let's see here. Freelance, sculpting. I have to go through it all now. Here we go. I think this is my male one. Probably needs a little bit of work in progress, a little bit more muscular block out. Yeah. There you go. This one needs a little bit of refinement, but you can kind of get the sense. And then, of course, if I load one more tool. So, if you guys like base meshes, let me know. This is pretty much what I'm thinking. Lincoln. God, it's been a while since I actually played with these base meshes. And then my generic female. Yeah, this one's not good. This one was not done yet. But you can kind of see the idea. Ideally, base mesh is just to make sure that you kind of get the same... You get a something to start with. But there's some really good base meshes in here as well. If you go to ZBrush Project, some pretty nice ones. But, yeah. As you can see, still a work in progress. Anyway, alright guys, that is it. Hopefully that's helpful. This is where we are. And it's coming along. Pretty excited about that. Alright, I promised I was going to go. So. Alright guys, I will talk to you later. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, 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 bye.